We're now in public session. I'd like to welcome you all to today's meeting. Just a few housekeeping points. Turn off your mobile phones and electronic devices, with the exception of your tablets, as they do interfere with the recording and Hansard. Members, I've received an apology from Mr. Sean Rogers and Alex Easton. No other.
And Adrian McCullough.
Adrian as well, also recorded. Okay, members.
Chair, once again, I'm going to have it mentioned here, I mentioned it earlier today. I find that the attendance reports, I've raised them here before, and that if any of us have a valid reason why we are not here, we're shown as not attending. And then there's the whole inquiry as to what we were doing and where we are and everything else. Most of us would be here unless we have a valid reason not to be. In the past, DRD, for example, may have met in Coleraine or in Londonderry. But you're not going to get here again for an afternoon session, and I physically wouldn't be up to doing it. And I've had other reasons why I can't be here on certain times, and I've made the committee aware of that. But I am not happy with the reporting that suggests that you only attended 60% or whatever of meetings. You can only attend what you can attend. And if we are in other business, if we're on another assembly business, or if we're in ill health, I think that should be recorded accordingly. I think the question is, the point was made, meetings that you could attend, somewhere along those lines. Well, there are certain meetings that you can't attend because you're not here. And that's what I find difficult to comprehend. We're told this morning to refer the matter to our Chief Whip. That's not what goes out into the public domain.
I think you know, it's the same, Ross, for all committees. You know, if you're,
That's why
it's
I'm
the
raising
same.
here again.
It's the same for all committees. I think it's, in terms of the protocols of the House, I think it is. That's the way it's been. I don't know. I can't add any more to that. Just
The protocols are clearly wrong, in my opinion, because, as I say, if you have a good reason not to be here, you said this morning bringing notes from your mother, maybe that's what I'll do. I do find it irritating that you could be shown as not attending, but you may be in other duties. So therefore, I'm just going to get that off my chest. It's now done,
Right.
and I'm not happy with the way they're recorded.
Okay, Ross. Well, what I can do is raise this at the chairperson's liaison group committee meeting as well. Also, I mean, you're the only one in this committee that has mentioned it to me, so I feel the duty that I will pass that on to the chairperson's liaison committee. But I don't know, members, any other thoughts on that? Trevor?
Chairperson, I mean, Ross and I shared views this morning, but mine's slightly different than Ross's. The only people who really look at the attendance records is the media. And I mean, I don't hold myself to be really that interested in terms of what the media thinks, whether I attend or don't attend meetings. But I think it's difficult where, and I think it's something in terms of that maybe parties should organise themselves in terms of where members should be. But I think really, and I take the point in terms of someone with ill health, if someone's conscience is clear that they're away to something because of ill health, that's fair enough. Because I said this morning in another place, I was going every Thursday morning for medical treatment before I came to here. I may have been late, didn't record why I was late, but I still made time to get here. If I couldn't have made it, I wouldn't have lost any sleep over it. Obviously, one's health comes before anything else, but I think it's difficult starting to get to the stage that we could give a caveat for members to send a suggestion why they're not there to record as an attendance. I think the public would criticise us for it as well. And I think where Ross is getting, I think it was me that quipped this morning, that it would get to the situation where we're like sending notes to the teacher in terms of if children are absent from school, that we'd be doing that with committees. I think we need to be mature on it, and I don't think we should get drawn too much in terms of how the media play out one's attendance at different meetings.
I think again, I mean, I suppose the proper place to raise this would be in the chairperson's liaison committee meeting, and that's.
You may well find, Chair, the only one irritated by it is me. So 1 out of 108, tough. I don't have a problem with that. But it does niggle me at times when my own health wasn't good. For example, if I was going to go to a physiotherapist in the morning, I was hardly going to drive to Belfast in the afternoon. It would defeat the whole purpose of the thing. But I've got it off my chest now. If it's a bit raised and nobody else has the problem, well and good. But I do believe that if we are doing something else, such as, for example, the policing board, there's no reason why we should be shown as perhaps a poor attender. But that's my moan for today. That's it.
No, I take that sentiment on board, and I will raise it at the chairperson's liaison committee. Okay, members. Minutes of the meeting of the 17th of September. If you are content, I'll sign them into the record, and I've just done that. Members, agenda item 3, which is correspondence relating to the events company, NI, and which is at page 9 of your electronic packs. Members, this is correspondence from the Audit Office in relation to an issue that has been raised by us. Sorry, I'd like to welcome Kieran, Brandon and Richard here today, also from the Audit Office. Members, just also, before I go into the correspondence relating to this, we have with us Jack, and I did mention Jack was at our witness session last week, so any member who wasn't able, Jack Peel is our new assistant clerk, and today is Trevor's last day here, so so Trevor's been sent out to graze in new pastures.
Are they greener?
Okay, yeah. Okay, members, as I said, it's correspondence in relation to the events company. It's an issue raised to us by David McNary MLA regarding the events company, and the correspondence relates to the final reporting of the investigation into the affairs of the company and outlines the current position. So I'll just invite Kieran to make a comment. Kieran?
Thank you very much, Chair. Just roll back the clock. This committee had a preliminary look at the affairs of the Northern Ireland Events Company way back in 2008. And I just pulled out your report from that, and one of the statements was this was one of the most serious failures of control in an arm's length body in recent years. Moving on from that, in November 2008, inspectors were appointed by the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment under the Companies Order to investigate and report on the affairs of the Northern Ireland Events Company. The final report has been presented to the Department and was forwarded to me on the 29th of August of this year. So I've had the report in my possession, a few weeks. I also should say that I am aware that this inspector's report has been passed to the PSNI, who are conducting a criminal investigation on matters relating to the company. Now, it's my intention to discuss with the PSNI the timetable for their investigation to establish what impact, if any, it might have on my intention to prepare a report on the issue. So it is my intention to do my own report to the Assembly on the events company. So I'm committed to doing that. I'll come back to the committee with an update after I talk to the PSNI, just in terms of timing.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. And I suppose just on that, before I let in the Deputy Chairperson, members who have any questions, just to be mindful that this will be an investigation forwarded on to the PSNI. So, Deputy Chairperson.
Chairperson, for my information, could I ask, who are the inspectors exactly?
Right. The inspectors were appointed by the department. In this case, it is PwC on behalf of the company's inspection unit within DETI. So that's the unit within DETI that deals with companies, disqualification of directors and that type of issue.
Chairperson, I'm very mindful of what you said about the ongoing investigation, and that obviously limits anything I can say. But it sounds almost as if we need another inquiry into why the inspector's report took so long. Because I certainly was on PEC at the time, and I have no doubt that this committee and the public needed to know how £1.45 million was spent. And there were certainly adequate information provided at the time that could have allowed this report to be finalised a long time ago. And I'm extremely disappointed. Disappointed that the events company, which doesn't exist any longer, performed so badly. had clearly no financial control over how it spent its money. But the fact that PwC, who were charged with doing the report, are only producing it now, you know, that really must irritate anybody who has any interest in the control of public money.
And now we're going to have an added cost now because the PSNI are going to be doing their investigation.
Well, you know, I would like to be the eternal optimist, but how can you ask a police service so many years later to conduct an inquiry with any chance of a successful prosecution? Quite frankly, I don't think there's any hope. And that's just disgraceful how public money was spent.
Just maybe one point there is worth making. The police have been involved in this case for some time.
Yes.
So that their involvement predates the publication of this.
I understand that, but then maybe we should be asking also, then why is their investigation taking years? And clearly, it's my opinion, and sorry for talking over you, it's my opinion that we need to look seriously at whether the PSNI per se has got the skills and the resources to do an investigation which involves the spending of millions of pounds of public money. I personally don't think they have.
I think just, sorry Kieran, maybe we could write to Derry just to get, you know, a reason on why it took so long, basically, in terms of getting the report out there. Kieran, were you going to say something?
No, I think that's a fair point. This has took far, far longer than anybody expected at the time. And I think, it would be worthwhile to write to the department to
ascertain
inquire
why.
why. Yeah.
Chairperson, I would need to be convinced that it didn't suit someone not to have this investigation.
Well, I suppose given the length and the delay, it obviously, in my opinion, probably wasn't a priority, maybe. I don't know.
If it's any help, I can say this is quite a massive report, and there's serious issues in it. It's a couple of 100 pages.
Okay.
Okay, no other members? Okay, members, moving on. Are members content that we also forward this correspondence on to Mr McNary also,
Yeah.
given that he raised this with us? Agreed? Agreed, okay. Okay, members, at page 10 of your packs is correspondence from the Audit Office in relation to the cost of its value for money reports. This is information that I think ourselves sought. Kieran, do you want to comment on the correspondence?
Yeah, I think the committee were interested in what our reports cost, and you'll see from the figures there, the costs have reduced. Actually, last year we brought our average cost down to 104,000. What I would like to say is the cost varies enormously from one report to the other. Some reports can be done quite efficiently and cheaply. Others, particularly where they're dealing with standards in public life and where there are reputational issues for individuals and potential legal issues, can take a lot longer. So that would be one of the factors determining the cost. But generally, we're under tight budgetary pressure, and our objective is to bring our costs down. We do measure the cost of everything that we do, and that's something that we encourage all public sector bodies to do.
So, Ross, you wanted?
Yes, Chair. Can you give us an indication of how you actually calculate the costs? How many people would be involved in an average report? Now, I know it's difficult to say an average one, but pick one sort of at random and give us an idea how many people would be involved and how long it would take to say arrive at 140,000.
It could be teams of 2, 3, up to 5 max. Some of them would be turned around in a few months. Some would be taken up to 18 months. So, for example, we're doing a complex health study. That would take a bit longer. Some we did very cheaply and quickly, like the tenancy fraud report. just maybe 1 or 2 people on. So,
Well, in relation to that, I mean, if you're doing a report on the health service, for
Yes.
example, is that the only one that's worked on, or is there another one worked on at the same time? Are staff just allocated
oh
to?
no, say our health team at the minute are working on 3 or 4 reports.
Yeah. So you
So there
try
is
to
cycle, yeah.
apportion bits and pieces?
Yeah, and people may be involved in one part of a report. So most staff would have 3 or 4 things on the go at any one time.
Well, and my final question on this particular issue is, do you have someone who works all this out, just basically to say how much this is? You know,
We have a time recording system, and every job then is, so everybody does the timesheet
right?
on a daily basis and clocked by the hour. And then we work out a charge out rates with overheads apportioned. So every job is costed. It's more particularly important in work we charge for. So that's the financial audit work. So we work out a budget at the start of the job and then track the cost against it.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Thank you very much. I'm thinking more in relation to some areas where we have raised concerns and there's had to be a report compiled on that.
Yes.
And some of those areas you find maybe a department or an individual decides to frustrate the whole process, and in doing so they can add additional cost to it.
I think that's a fair point, and I've mentioned that here. Typically in the clear, if there's a controversial report, it will always usually cost more than a straightforward one that isn't contentious, and that can add to the cost by, in some cases, up to a third. You will remember, and this comes up today as well in the I think it's the memorandum of response on the DRD reports. The committee actually recommended a tighter clearance time, and the department hasn't fully accepted that. But what they have said, I do note improvement, where we're running into a clearance issue. We're now going to have a more proactive role from the Treasury Office of Accounts in DFP. Now, I don't need to clear, my conclusions are my own, but sometimes there are disputes on factual matters, and I try to resolve those before bringing a report to you. But sometimes there can be too much time wasted on the clearance process, and we're trying to tighten that up. What actually helps is where maybe there's something timetabled in for this committee, and then a line has to be drawn on the sand to get the report over the line. So I think that can be useful.
Just on that point, it's in relation to information which should be made available to you, but you don't necessarily get, and you have to actually, by one means or another, spend quite a bit of time trying to extract that from a department or from a body. And I'm thinking of one in particular where when you ask for information 3 or 4 times and you keep getting back the same information, but it's not because we have.
Well, we'll take an example there.
The whistleblower's giving us additional information.
We had one on AFBI, that was quite a costly report, and it shouldn't have been, for a couple of reasons. One, the information we were looking wasn't there, so in the absence of good information there, something we had to create for ourselves. So where public bodies have good information systems, our job's 10 times easier. There's no doubt about that.
And you will also, the other case in point that you touched on, the evidence session with BMC and the issue of the audit trail that was there. That was particularly difficult for us to get information simply because of the way the information was stored. And in essence, there's a balance sometimes to be struck in terms of what you rely on in terms of a body providing to you and what you yourself have to generate, or it's really to ensure that what you're getting is exactly what you want and it's independent and you can stand over it.
Okay, thank you, members. No other members want to comment? Okay, members, are we content to note the correspondence?
Agreed.
And it's would be useful information to have in our take note debate.
Yeah.
Okay, members, moving on. Investment Strategy Implementation Report, June 2014, which is at page 11 of your packs, and it is correspondence from OFMD-FM Committee in relation to the report. It's been sent to all the statutory committees and indeed to this committee. Members, you'll see a memo from Colette Kerr at page 12, which references our evidence session of the 11th of June with regard to giving consideration to what additional measures could be taken to improve transparency of local information. The memo suggests that the deferring of the annual report on the investment strategy from to autumn to allow ministers to respond positively to the recommendation of the Audit Office report and to any recommendations that may be included in our report. This approach would mean that the next report would be produced 2 years after the investment strategy was published, and annual reports would then be produced for the remaining life of the investment strategy. Kieran, do you want to comment on the content of the correspondence? Which is
All I would say it's a positive development, and you're already getting a result from the PFI session in June. So it's a commitment to actually provide more fulsome information to the Assembly, and that's a very good thing.
okay. Just on page 13, the last paragraph, information on major infrastructure project procurements due to start and underway can also be accessed on the ISNI delivery tracking system. That's the ISNI portal system. And I think members in the DFP will agree with me that, you know, from time to time this comes up in DFP where there may be some difficulties with individuals using the portal system. These have any information on that? No, Brandon?
No, with no information on it. Obviously, what they're trying to do is make information available. If there are glitches, we really have got to go to SIB and get them to fix the glitches. But it's an attempt to try and be more transparent, and that's something we would welcome and have been encouraging.
And again, it's something that we're continuing to follow up on DFP, the portal system. Okay, members, moving on. Agenda item 4, correspondence in relation to advanced land purchase by DSD, which is at pages 23 to 52 of your electronic packs. It's correspondence relating to the recovery of an advanced land purchase made by DSD to Trinity Housing Association in 2008. So on the 15th of January, we considered correspondence on this issue and we agreed to forward it on to the CNAG for his consideration. The Audit Office's response is at page 25, which is at pages 26 to 38 of your pack, and it includes the DSD resource accounts for 2013-14 and paragraphs 43 to 48 and paragraphs 51 to 59 relate specifically to the issue in question. So again, the final information on this issue is at page 39 to 59, which is a submission from the anonymous whistleblower regarding the same issue. Just be mindful of the fact, members, if we're speaking to this issue, that the whistleblower wishes to remain anonymous. Kieran, do you want to make any comments at this stage on the content?
Well, for a number of years, we have been concerned about grants made under the Advanced Land Purchase Scheme. So this allowed grants to be made to housing associations to purchase sites for which there's a social housing need, but may not have planning permission. Now, during the property boom, a number of housing associations bought land at high prices, and subsequently the planning permission did not materialise. So it referred to two cases. And what should happen there, then the money should be paid back to the to the department. So you'll see at page, paragraph 48, one was Helm. Wait, sorry. Great George's Street. The site was purchased in 2007 by Helm, which was supported by an 8.1 million grant under the advanced purchase arrangements. Helm were enabled to obtain planning permission for a social housing development on this site since 2007. Now, the department now have an agreement in place for the settlement of the full amount of the grant. So that's progress. We've got movement on that one, and that's one we've been pressing at for a number of years. So the department's accounts now include a debtor for this amount, and that should be paid back. I suppose one of the issues we've also flagged up is whether it should be paid back with interest. The second one in the report where nothing has been paid back yet, it relates to ALP, Advanced Land Purchase, to Trinity Housing Association for a development in Crossgar. In this scheme, the department, via the Housing Executive, awarded a grant of $835,000 to Trinity to purchase the site on the basis of 12 social housing units would be developed. Now, the association since that time, now, bear in mind this is back in 2008, it's now 2014, the association has not been successful on a number of occasions in obtaining planning approval for what was to be a 12-unit scheme. Earlier this year, we said it obtained planning permission for a single dwelling. Now, a single dwelling on the site.
How much did they pay for it?
$835,000. Right. Now, in March 13, the Housing Executive indicated it was minded to begin recovery procedures for the grant on the basis that the scheme had not commenced within a reasonable time. And this is not the first time I reported on this, I reported on it last year. The association then threatened to take legal action to prevent recovery. Now, the site in Crossgar is now worth considerably less than what was paid for it. I have said very clearly, and I think the view is shared by the department. Sorry, Michael?
Just for clarification, you said the site is now worth less than what was paid for. Is the fact not that what was paid for it wasn't what it was worth at the time?
That's another, could well be, yeah. Bear in mind, 2007, the pinnacle of the property.
But without planning permission was worth diddly squat.
Yeah, and this is the question. So, yeah, the housing associations were taking the risk of the plan.
With somebody else's money.
Yeah, with our money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is. It's taxpayers' money. Okay. Now,
Can I just clarify? I don't mind, Chair. They are threatening to take legal action against us trying to get our money back.
legal action against the department.
Yeah, well, against
DSD.
I'll give you my own view. I think that's wholly inappropriate.
DSD shouldn't have in the first place.
Wholly inappropriate.
When did this all start? Sorry.
Sorry?
2007.
2007. So I have said clearly, and I think maybe the whistleblower said maybe we haven't gone strong in this. I have quite a strong paragraph here, paragraph 54. I said, I am very disappointed that recovery procedures have not commenced for this grant, despite the fact that indications of being minded to do so were given 15 months ago. Still no imminent prospect of social housing being permitted on the site. The grant was paid over 6 years ago, without any social housing having been built, and there's a considerable risk to public funds if such grants are not recovered, particularly when there's been a fall in the value of the related land. Now, the department's comments are down below at 56, whether they're holding out hope that there may be a change to the plan and permission. I think the lack of progress on recovery is disappointing, and that's one of the issues that I think the whistleblower is raised.
I think Deputy Chairperson and Michael, John, you wanted to...
Thanks, Chairperson. I would ask for the Controller and Auditor General's opinion on the morality of anyone spending public money buying land which is not subject to planning permission. Is that not a criminal offence?
It was obviously facilitated within the rules of the scheme at the time. Certainly a very high-risk strategy. There were more than one housing association involved, but there was a scramble to buy up land during the peak of the property boom.
Put the question another way. Would anybody going out to buy land for their own development be mad enough to buy land without planning approval? I don't think so. I'm not quizzing you, Kieran, on this, but you know,
If they were borrowing money, John, the lender wouldn't lend. Most land
well,
is bought by borrowing
well,
money.
I think Michael Copeland raises a very valid point about the irresponsible way in which banks lent money, lent 830, no, far more, millions, to acquire property for which there was no planning permission. But, you know, what's the most regrettable thing about this, Chairperson, is this money was intended to be spent on the most vulnerable people in society, those who were either homeless, suffering housing stress, and simply didn't have. Now, I think the Assembly, with the best intentions in the world, provided the money. And now we have the arrogance of the Housing Association saying, well, we not pay the grant back again. That Housing Association shouldn't exist. If it was in the private sector, it would be out of business. That's it.
Right.
So the question is, what lessons have been learned? Are the regulations now changed? Can you still spend public money buying land for housing for which there's no planning approval?
There's Michael, Chris, Trevor and Paul looking in.
Again,
and
it's
Ross.
perhaps not a useful comment, but it does in some way reflect the morality of some of these things, not referring to either of the two sites or either of the two housing associations, but I know of housing associations that did purchase land at risk, speculation, and ended up with land that was worth more on paper than what it was worth in reality. And I also know that they are currently in the process of evicting at least 3 people for non-payment of rent. And there's no morality in that.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, did this require ministerial direction, or was it seen as good economic business to be using this money in this way?
Back at the time?
Yeah.
Check that. I would be.
Don't believe there was a
I don't
ministerial
believe.
direction. Okay.
No.
Who was the minister at that time in DSD?
Sorry, Chris?
Let me know who the minister was.
Was it pre-devolution?
207.
It depends whether it was back into direct rule or not. I suspect none of this was.
2007?
We can check it out, but I'd be surprised if any of this was air ministers.
So it wasn't.
But it was approximately 2007, sorry, wasn't it?
Could be.
Bother. Just before I bring Trevor and Paul, whoever their hands up, you okay, Paul? I was just saying to the clerk, I mean, we would have to kind of look at what the protocols are, but there'd be a lot of questions, obviously, for the department here coming out of today's meeting, and as opposed to maybe writing to them, I was just thinking about the protocols of maybe getting the department up and bringing them in front of us, as opposed to waiting till we do the whole thing and have our evidence session. I don't know what members think of that.
Maybe we'll take my question, sir.
Chairperson,
Yeah.
Chairperson, you know, what irritates me about this, there's a big debate going on out there about the wonders of housing associations and about almost the evil of the housing association, sorry, the housing executive. And here we have these housing associations smelling of roses, and look how they have been squandering public money.
Chris, have you finished your question?
Yes, sir. Do we know when this was sanctioned? What date the sale was?
2008.
It was 2007, was it?
Sorry,
The grant was awarded in February 2008.
Oh, okay, no
So it
problem.
was devolution now.
So
You said something which interested me, Kieran. So we're now in devolution in 2008.
Sorry, I got wrong there. One of these was 2007, one was the Helm was 2007.
What date in 2007?
I don't have the month with me, but we could find out.
Which one was the 800,000 one?
That was the 2008 one.
Right, we'll talk about that. That's an interesting one then. 800,000 in devolution. Are you saying then currently, so if any of us had a small piece of land and housing associations had an interest in it, we can basically ask them what they like, without any business case, without any planning permission, as was done in 2008?
There's a departmental approval
Yeah, it could be before.
have been required. Yeah. So there are points for the department here to
A DSD?
answer.
business case for
Michael, I'll let you in just there before.
The amounts paid, Kieran, were they the total purchase value, or was that the departmental subvention, in other words, the grant? And was the total price in excess of what we're being told? What I'm driving at, was there any...
A contribution.
Yeah, was there any check and balance from commercial lenders? Because the first thing a bank or a commercial lender wants to know is, what's the risk and when you're going to get paid back?
Exactly.
I don't have that information at my fingertips, but can I come back to you? Come back on that?
Strange.
It strikes me that the department was acting as a competitor, and that other private developers, if there's land kicking about like that at a commercial price, the market would generally dictate that commercial developers will develop, and if money can be made, they will do it. But if you've got a source of money that says, here, you'll have as much as you like for it, and very little prospect of ever having to pay it back, that's actually just twisting the market as well. It's serious amounts of money.
Paul and then Ross.
Thank you. I come at this from a point of view that's saying if the land was within a zoned area which was potentially available for development, it could ultimately, with a proper plan, get planning through. Whether somebody's successful or not maybe doesn't necessarily come down to that it is undevelopable. It might be that they haven't been imaginative enough about how they put forward a plan, but that's beside the point, because we know there are plenty of architects who just throw things on a piece of paper and they don't necessarily know how to present an application to ensure that it goes through. But I come to the point of view of when they were purchasing it. You alluded to the fact that there might have been a competition between associations at that time, or
No.
not just, they weren't competing against housing association against housing association for the site?
Right. I don't know about this particular case, but certainly back in 2007, it certainly was said that there was competition between associations, and that in itself could be bidding prices up.
That's where
I've certainly heard that said. No evidence in these particular cases.
But there's no accountability from a housing association point of view if they're bidding with public money against each other for public money. It didn't matter which one of them was going to win it. Public purse was going to end up paying the price. So I think there needs to be something in relation to, if housing association is going to be bidding, that no other housing association is going to go in competition to drive the price of that land up. Therefore, public purse. That's where I have a big problem.
I think that's a very valid point. Yep.
I have a big problem, you know, where you've got two independent, and this is where the arm's length issue of associations creates a big problem for me, in that they can do whatever they want, really. They get a funding to buy property. They receive money from public purse to pay for the rent for a lot of those properties. They build it with public money. They receive public money to pay them back for it, and at the end of the day, they get an asset for absolutely nothing. And you know, it just doesn't lie comfortable with me. But to come back to the detail of this one, the fact that at that time the market was out through the roof, what I'm looking at is comparable sites of the same potential development potential, maybe 20 houses, whatever that might be. But to see there's an application went in the 30th or the 20-something of July for 7 apartments on one of these sites. So, you know, if that's the case, 7 apartments and it cost them £800,000, like £120,000 before you even put a brick on the ground, is quite a bit of upfront charges, albeit I still think that we paid over the odds. If that's all they can get out of it, there's something seriously wrong. If it was 20 acres that they could develop and they'd paid that for it, we'd be doing very well. I'm not necessarily happy with the way the whole thing has been done. I do think that there's a necessity for us maybe to bring somebody in to ask questions about how the business case was put forward in the first place about this, and how they came up with the figure of 800,000 as a value for that property, or for that piece of land.
Yeah.
You know, I would, if it was me with developing it, I would be sitting down working out what can I get on that land and what would my payback be. You know, there seemed to be no assumption that anything was going forward. I'm not necessarily that stuck on the issue about not having planning, providing it was in the zoned area and planning potentially could be developed on the site. You know, that's one thing. The right man coming forward with a proper application could probably get something on it. And I know, I'm not saying he has to put it forward right.
Also, I'll let you in now and then we'll make some decisions on it.
I think I can continue this sort of thought process. The departmental approval surprises me, because surely the department at some stage looked at the proposal and saw there was a planning issue or a planning application. And surely somebody should have said, I wonder if that would be granted planning permission. If somebody said, I'm going to build a building like this today, the likelihood is no, you wouldn't get building on the site today. And somebody somewhere should have been aware of the planning policy. Somebody who said, you never built it, but that's another story. They should have been aware of the planning policy. So if one department has given approval for something and not been aware of the planning policy, that would cause me concern. £800,000 of public money is a hell of a lot of money. Is there any way that we can seize this land, even if we take it for the housing executive? Because somebody, where is this money at the minute? Is it tied up in this piece of land?
Yeah.
Is somebody gone on holidays with it? Is somebody running the company with it? Because
Somebody built a house.
have they built a house? Have they got a white Land Rover at the front of it? I mean, when you think about it coldly, if we could run a business where we come with our cap in hand, we're given £800,000, we don't do anything with it that we're supposed to do with it, and then when they're asked back for it, they say sod off, there's something not right. That would be criminal anywhere else. So I want to know, do we know where the money is? We've obviously paid it over. Why did we pay it over when nothing's actually come off it?
Yeah.
And if the land is still there, why are we not taking steps to take the land back? Because if this was a bank, and you're given the money on the strength of your house or the strength of your site, whatever it well may be, that is the asset that you're taking your mortgage against. So I see no reason why we can't take legal steps to recover either the land or the money.
You see in paragraph 56 on the Trinity one,
Yep.
they're still holding out for the possibility they might get a better deal from the planners.
I'm holding out for the possibility that one day I will be 10 stone in weight,
Yes.
but it's going to be a very long time before that happens.
I've only reiterated what the department's line is on it.
There's more chance of me being 10
I'm
stone
not-
in weight than that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm agreeing with that. That's the line.
They all say we live in hope.
Yeah.
It's what they say, it's a no-brainer, they're getting not getting the penny.
Paragraph 56.
Members, there's obviously a number of different actions that, I mean, obviously questions. I mean, they're obviously not taking any, I mean, what steps have they taken to recover it, albeit that they're saying that they're mindful of doing so? They've taken no
It's not a
steps,
very
there's no
strong,
action.
but
No.
It's just mindful.
They're mindful of
It's not
doing
going
so.
very far.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's been little, maybe to no action
On
around
that case,
recovering it?
whereas the other case,
Yeah,
they've
there
got a
was.
result.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you'd be wanting to see what the rules for the scheme would be as well. Would there have been a business case for this? Kieran? You would imagine so.
There should have been.
There should have been, you know. So who was part and parcel of the business case? But members, just to be mindful, and I did say that we could get the department up and ask them questions, and we could find out how we could go about doing that. But on the drop side to that, we could refer this to the Social Development Committee for its consideration, and also forward on any information to the department for its consideration. Do we want to send it on to the committee and the department, or do we deal with
We
it?
must keep it here.
Deal with it on
The
here.
£800,000 of public money's gone, God knows where. I think we have to find out where it went.
Chairperson, declaring an innocent member of DST, but I take Ross's point, there is £800,000 in public accounts, but I still think that it should go to DST also. I think it's a joint approach in this, because if this was allowed to happen in the past, there's every possibility this can happen in the future. So I think whatever has happened here, I think the committee should also be looking at it from a different
Piece of
angle.
work.
This is one self-contained issue, but we have other reporting material on housing associations, particularly stock transfers. So there may be an opportunity to pull these strands together if you wanted a...
Are they linked by the whistleblower?
No. It's just we haven't have a separate report out on good practice and stock transfers from the executive, housing executive housing association.
I think that's what.
You know, if you were going into the, I don't think the committee hasn't taken evidence on that sector before.
I appreciate, Chair, through you, that might be worthwhile to link that into the same report, but on the basis of what has come forward here from a whistleblower, albeit it has highlighted one specific or a couple of deals that were done, was their involvement in any of these deals? Were they involved as a whistleblower? Are they linked in? And by that, all I want to know, do they work for the department? Do they work for an association that maybe lost out?
You're referring to the whistleblower?
Yeah.
No, I think we can say safely no on that.
They're not linked anyway, no conflict of interest. No.
No.
Right.
Chris?
It's just to ask, I'm just wondering about the public thing. Is this the PSNI station in Crosscar?
No, it's across the road from it,
You want to go into close?
on the opposite side of the road from the old.
Yeah.
No, it's on the same side of the road, the other end of the village.
Chairperson,
Okay.
we're straying into areas because my colleagues talking about the whistleblower themselves. I propose that actually we go into closed session maybe for a wee bit more of a conversation around that particular area, and then I'm happy to open up a wee bit. I'm just concerned that we're talking a wee bit about some of that other stuff that's.
Okay, members, Kieran, are you content to discuss issues around the whistleblower in closed session, or are you in
Yeah,
a
I think it
position to
should
do
be
that?
closed because
Yeah.
if the whistleblower is asked for.
Yeah, to be remain anonymous.
Yeah.
Okay, members, agreement to go into closed.
Great.
Agreed.
Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room